Hello everybody and welcome to another episode from my series Quick Thoughts On, in which I always talk about different stories from the rich Star Trek universe. 50 years and unfortunately many weeks ago, NBC aired the next episode of the classic Star Trek TV show. It was called The Lights of Zetar, at least I hope it's pronounced like that, and these are my honest opinions about it. This episode has some very strange editing. For example, it starts with a shot which is definitely taken from somewhere else. We are introduced to a brand new character, Myra, and we are told that Scotty is in love with her. But does she really love him? Their on-screen relationship is very strange. During the scenes they have together, Scotty looks like a creepy uncle who tries to persuade his niece that it's fully normal if they shower together, and Myra looks like she thinks that if she will smile at him, he will not hurt her. I have seen this episode so many times, and honestly I have no clue what are her feelings to him. The Enterprise is flying her to Memory Alpha, which is a Wikipedia dedicated to all things Star Trek, or in the universe it's actually something similar, a planetoid which serves basically as a giant library. By the magic of editing, both Scotty and Myra are transported to the bridge just to see the villain of the episode, a ball of lights. A ball of lights which flies through space with warp speed. Kirk thinks that it's just a space storm, even though no natural phenomena can move faster than light. He orders yellow alert, but before anybody can react, the lights are on the Enterprise, and everybody on bridge loses control of some parts of their bodies. When the thing leaves the bridge for some reason, they realize that their brains were affected by the phenomenon, and every person had different bits of the brain affected. And one person was hit the hardest way possible. Myra collapses. When she regains consciousness, she opens her mouth and releases a bunch of weird sounds. She sounds exactly like I sound after eating Indian food, but it is supposed to be speech in some unknown language. A very strange sound effect choice by the editor. Couldn't he use something which would actually sound like a language? When she really wakes up, she doesn't remember what happened, refuses to go to sickbay, but when Kirk orders her to go there, she pretends to obey. But when she's there, she's extremely bitchy. Am I allowed to say she's bitchy in 2019? Let's say that she's extremely unpleasant. And during my second viewing of this episode, I realized what is my problem with this episode. Her character. I just don't like her. No, I'm not talking about her looks, the actress was a really beautiful woman, I am talking about her personality. You know, it's absolutely normal that when you lose consciousness you are feeling embarrassed, because you have just been exposed to an experience during which you were fully helpless and you don't know what happened. A normal person's reaction would be something like, I'm okay, please forget it happened and concentrate on something else, thank you. But instead she's very hostile to people who are trying to help her. And yes, I unfortunately know how a person in her situation feels. Sulu meanwhile on the bridge projects the storm course as heading directly for Memory Alpha, and Spock says that warning them makes no sense because they have no shields. The information they have is fully available to everybody, so why have shields? Well, does it sound stupid to anybody else? I mean, I have nothing really valuable in my home, but I still lock the door when I leave. When the Enterprise arrives to Memory Alpha, everybody is dead. Well, almost everybody. They find one woman who is barely alive. She also makes the same Indian food digesting sounds like Myra did back on the bridge, but with something extra. Her face changes colors. McCoy says that she died on, well, basically brain damage. I'm sorry, but what type of brain damage makes your face change colors? Looks like everybody there died because different parts of their brains were damaged. So, what does the captain do? He orders the only crew member who lost consciousness to beam down. Looking at a bunch of dead bodies will surely make her feel better. When she sees the bodies, she starts panicking and claiming they are all going to die because the storm is coming back and will kill them all, or it will metal up your ass. And if you understood that reference, you have great musical taste. Kirk thinks she is crazy, but suddenly Sulu calls and claims the storm is quickly rushing back, so he orders them to beam them up. And everybody, except for Myra, gets beamed on board. Scotty needs to beam her up himself. What was the point of this short scene? Was it supposed to show us that Myra is changing, and therefore an ordinary transporter chief can't beam her up? Because if that was the intention, it wasn't very well communicated. It feels more like there was a second scene, but it was cut out and this one was kept in. The quote-unquote storm thing keeps attacking the Enterprise, which leads Spock to assume it's actually a life form. Because this is the Roddenberry era of Star Trek, Kirk tries to first talk to it, but with no result. It didn't take form of an attractive woman, so Kirk can't try his usual plan B, so he orders a warning shot. The warning shot gets ignored by the creature, so the second shot gets directly to the belly of the beast. And it's pretty effective, in the sense that it's hurting both the creature and Myra. She collapses from pain and Scotty calls the bridge that they are killing her, which means Kirk has to stop shooting and do another thing which people used to do in the Roddenberry shows, call up a meeting of the higher officers and Myra to talk about what's happening. We now know that Myra's brainwaves are identical to the brainwaves of the creature, or actually creatures. The ball of light contains multiple intelligent creatures, so she is connected to the creatures. Wait, if her brainwaves are identical, shouldn't she be fully controlled by the creatures and not just being telepathically connected to them? We're also told that Myra has visions of future events before they happened, before every attack. We're told it by Scotty, not by Myra. He suddenly speaks for her like she is a mentally disabled child. Their relationship is even weirder in this scene than it was any time before or after. Scotty even hugs her, at least I guess it's supposed to be a hug. James Doohan seems to be very careful not to touch her boobs. This whole scene is just so awkward to watch. And sorry for not saying anything about her visions, but there's nothing to say about them really, except for the, again, weird editing. Every time she has a vision, the editor freezes the frame and zooms optically to her eye. Yes, it's done in post. Why didn't they zoom to her eye using the camera? When you do an optical zoom, you lose a ton of detail and make the film grain even more noticeable. That's the other things I wanted to talk about when I was talking about weird editorial choices. But anyway, the creatures attack again, and we see one of the most famous scenes, a crew member practicing his miming abilities. When the captain walks behind him, he pretends he's turning an invisible wheel on the wall. It's unintentionally hilarious. Anyway, the final act begins, and it's the weirdest one. They all arrive to sickbay, and the lights, which have again intruded the ship, have now entered Myra, Romaine. She starts to speak with multiple voices, and we finally get to know what is going on. The lights are actually the, let's say, souls of the survivors from the planet Zetar. So they are the Lights of Zetar. As cinema scenes would say, roll credits. They were searching for centuries for a humanoid body which they could use as their own, but until now all bodies have rejected them and died. So, I'm sorry, I have questions. Why did they attack the Enterprise multiple times? Why did they never kill anybody on the ship, even when they were in physical contact? But they killed everybody on Memory Alpha. Why did they return? Couldn't they take control of Myra's body immediately in the teaser? But instead of giving us answers, Scotty grabs her body and puts her into the pressure chamber. She shocks him and throws him away to the other side of the room, but we don't see it. It happens off screen, probably because Doohan's stuntman got his back seriously hurt during the second season episode, the one with Apollo, and they probably didn't have another one willing to do that stunt. But Scotty survives and McCoy basically pressurizes the chamber until the creatures leave Myra's body and die, I think? I honestly don't know. The final act is too weird for my liking. But of course, the story has a happy end. Myra has another awkward smile when she realizes Scotty is watching her, and we get one of the famous, funny endings. This time not on the bridge, but in sickbay. And I love the final scene. Well, this was enjoyably weird. I love this type of stories, where one of the characters get possessed by something, whether it's an alien, an AI virus, or for example Pazuzu. There is something amazing and also a bit scary on watching a character you know and love being under somebody else's influence, and this is my biggest problem with this episode. We don't know Myra, and the tiny bit of her character we see in this episode is not a character I could like. To be perfectly honest, in the final act they lost me completely. When I was watching it I didn't care who will win. At all. And that's not a good thing. Some of the editing choices are very distracting, like the optical zooms, but on the other hand we see some very beautiful close-up shots of the Enterprise. I can't decide which of the starships I love the most, but definitely this version of the Enterprise, the refit version of the Enterprise from the movies, and the Enterprise D are three of my most beloved starships out of the whole franchise. It's simply an absolutely beautiful model, and it's great to properly see it. Speaking about weird editing choices, there is one more thing I wanna say. In the teaser, we see an overhead shot of Kirk, which is definitely not from this episode. I would even bet it's not from this season. Not only is it lit differently, it even looks like this shot is using a completely different film stock than the rest of the episode. It looks like a very early season 1 shot, but I have no clue if it's a reused shot of one of the episodes or not. Overall, on my standard scale from 0 to 10, where 0 is complete garbage, 10 is a masterpiece, and 5 is just average, I would give this episode 7 out of 10. Not perfect, but I really enjoy most of it. Definitely one of the better season 3 episodes. But as always, those were just my opinions. Let me know what did you think about this episode down in the comment section. Did you like it, hate it, or do you agree with my above average rating? If you liked this video, hit that thumbs up button, and I just want to say thank you very much for watching, and see you tomorrow with another video about Star Trek Discovery. Thanks again, and bye.